a stone. I just don't know where I can go. Fun's getting low. Winter is a coming fast and colder than the last. Pity for me, cold as can be. When breezes blow with ice and snow, no wonder then I sing time and again.
Welcome to Sparky on Ice, the coldest podcast on the internet. Today is June 13th, 2019, and I've been on ice for 149 days. Well, welcome back, everybody. I'm glad you can join me. Hope you're enjoying this bi-weekly schedule. It certainly gives me more time to work some stuff out and get some more content out to you guys. So, it's been an interesting couple of weeks. We had a severe cold snap last week, and it got really cold, like negative 30 cold, with negative 60 plus or 60 minus wind chills. Really cold. And then earlier this week, we got a warm front move through, and we made it all the way up to 18 with zero wind chill. I mean, no wind at all. Really weird. Kind of strange for a winter day. Which brought up this idea that maybe I should talk about my ECW gear and the clothes that I wear down here. Of course, we have to start with layers. Layers are so important to keeping warm here. And I have two kinds of base layers. And both are the Cold Proof brand made with polyester and spandex. I have a heavyweight and an extreme weight set. I wear the extremes when it's predicted to be negative 10 or below. My socks are made of merino wool and supposed to be good at negative 30. But on a really cold day or when I'm going to be outside for long periods, I wear some aluminum threaded sock liners and tend to reflect my body heat back towards me. Those work pretty good, and they're really comfortable, even as far as not being a liner sock, as being just a general wearing around sock, because they breathe pretty well and they keep my feet pretty warm. Normally the pants I wear are carpenter style pants with a double layered thigh, a knee area, so that goes from thigh to shin. It's an oversized knee. I also have some regular cargo pants and jeans, but I don't wear them to work very often. Those are my day off clothes because I'm pretty sure I'm not going to be spending a lot of time outside or in places where they could get snagged and get ruined. My carpenter pants are pretty rugged, and they've got pockets on the sides for tools, like carpenter pants do. And they do a pretty good job of blocking the wind and, keeping me fairly warm. And the double knee is great for kneeling in snow and ice for a short period of time. My work shorts are generally flannels. They're warm and they stand up to good rough use. Also nice to have a shirt pocket for our notebooks and pencils and my phone, which is really just used for taking pictures. I do have t-shirts for wearing while I'm not working, and I generally have a thermal under them too. So it pretty much covers normal clothes. Should probably talk a bit about outerwear. Normally, my pants and thermals are enough to keep me warm for short walks between buildings, being outside for maybe 15-20 minutes. But some days it gets really windy, or I know that I'm going to be tramping out in the snow for a while. I put on my bibs. And these are quilted Carhartt bibs that give excellent wind protection and warmth. I generally wear them with just a pair of thermals, but I have worn them with several layers like my Carhartt or my work pants. Like when we went out to Willie Field and we dug in the snow all day. More layers were better. I don't wear them often, but they are handy to have around, so I keep them usually within reach. They also issued me a matching Carhartt coat to go with that, and it works pretty good down to about 0, or if it's not too windy. It's quilted, and it comes with a detachable hood. The hood is lined as well with the fur around the edges, and it's pretty warm, but I tend to not like hoods, so I keep it off most of the time. The coat itself is not very good in the wind because it only goes to the waist and it gets a little breezy. Sometimes it can get up inside and that gets pretty cold. However, when it is really cold or really windy, like for most of the winter, we all resort to Big Red. Big Red is a military-grade expedition parka made by Canada Goose. It is bulky and filled with real goose down. It is also red, as the name implies, but it is the best possible coat and was designed for the harsh conditions here. It is waterproof, windproof, and really, really insulated. And it has a full-length zipper that runs from mid-thigh all the way up to your nose. It even has a fur face cover for when fully zipped so you can breathe. It keeps it traps the moisture. So yeah, it's a wind block is basically what it is, because when the wind blows directly at your face, it literally takes your breath away. It's like being compressed. It's really strange. And this helps keep that off your face. The hood is also fur-lined like the car hard. And once winter set in, pretty much everybody was wearing Big Red. Okay, on to footwear. I already covered socks, so let's do shoes and boots. I have 3 pairs of boots, 2 pairs of shoes. 1 pair of shoes are my tennis shoes. I'll wear them to work out and on my off time when it's not too cold. Sometimes I'll wear them all day Sunday and just deal with the cold feet for the short walk to the galley. My other shoes are a pair of Caterpillar winter shoes. I found them in Skua when I first got here. They have pretty good traction and are well insulated. I call them my inside shoes or my office shoes. And I wore them during the summer when it wasn't too cold, or if I know I'm going to be inside most of the day. They're fairly comfortable with the liners that I have, so that works out pretty good. And they're easy to slip on and off, so it makes my life so much easier. Boots are another story. The ones I brought with me are also Caterpillar brand that are basically the boot version of the shoes that I found, which I thought was really cool because they have the same exact traction. It's really weird that I found those shoes here. But I like the boots because of the zipper side. It makes getting ready in the morning so much easier. And, they've got pretty good grip. I still wear Yak tracks with them when it's going to be icy. In fact, they gave me a pair called Winter Walkers, and what they have are pull-out spikes, basically. There's a little section that you turn around on the sole of these things, and this whole thing attaches to your shoe, and it's got spikes, so you don't have to actually take these things on and off. You just have to turn this little part around, which is really nice for somebody like me who's deathly afraid of ice. But, these boots were the ones that I brought with me, like I said, and they're really comfortable, and I like wearing them. I'm going to wear them most of the time. Another pair are the Rocky boots that I found in Skua. These are 1,200 gram extreme cold boots. They needed a smaller pair, but are super warm and really comfortable. But they're too warm to wear inside for very long, but they are amazing outside, and they have really good traction in snow and ice. I was really happy when I found these in Skua. Because I needed a good pair of boots to go out to Willie, and these were perfect. And the last pair are my bunny boots, so named because they're white, and they look like the foot part of a pair of waders. But the difference is they have an air pocket between the 2 layers of rubber. I've only worn them once, and that was on the flight down, and I only plan on wearing them again for the flight out. They're heavy and really uncomfortable, but apparently they are incredibly warm. I don't know. Didn't wear them long enough to know, so I couldn't tell you. Then we have accessories. Hats are a must. I have a couple of beanies. Both have lights because it's dark down here. They also issue us some skull caps, which provide good wind protection under the beanie. On most days, I wear my neck gaiter and use it to cover my face and breathe through. But when it gets really bad, I put on the balaclava as well. It gives you full head and face protection from the wind and keeps the moisture from freezing your beard and mustache, if you have such things. Face protection is completed with a pair of goggles. These are foam lined and work well with the balaclava. The trick, though, is to make sure that the fabric from the balaclava is under the foam or the goggles will fog up and you can't see anything because the fog freezes and you can't get it off without warming everything up. And we'll finish off with gloves. They issue us a couple pair of gloves and a pair of mittens. These are fine. They're Refrigiwear and they're really, really warm, but don't plan on doing anything useful with them. They're too thick to do much. I used them out at Willie Field, but really I wish I'd have had something a little more tactile out there. I have other gloves that I wear normally that we have here on Station 2 that I got from Supply. These are the Thinsulate 100 gram leather gloves lined with cotton. These, now that they're well broken in, are really good. I wear them I do wear them every day now. So far, that's all I've needed since I've been up from Willie. But I have a pair of liners with aluminum threads like my socks for when it gets really cold, like it did last week. And, that was a pretty good combination of gloves. One other thing that is really important here are feet and hand warmers. These are little packets with air-activated chemicals that give off pretty good heat. I like to stick them between the liners and the outer gloves, or the toe liners. They have a sticky point that sticks to your socks, and that feels really good when your toes are cold. I also put them in my front pockets to keep the front of my thighs warm, and a place to put my hands when I'm really cold. So that pretty much covers clothes. And if you got any questions about stuff, I'd be happy to answer them. But that brings me to the weather, which I touched on a little bit earlier at the beginning. But the change in the past 2 days has been incredible. So yesterday, we hit 15 degrees, and today was negative 18. So yesterday, I was overdressed, but I wore the same layers today and was underdressed. And I have a feeling the rest of winter is going to be cold and windy. So I'm going to dress for that and just be hot while I'm inside. All right, on to history. We left off last time with a broad overview of the heroic age of exploration. For the next few shows, I'm probably going to dive deeper into these expeditions. The first was the Belgian Antarctic expedition of 1897 to 1899, which was the first expedition to winter in the Antarctic region. In 1896, after a period of intense lobbying, Adrian de Gerlache purchased the Norwegian-built whaling ship Patria, which, following the extensive refit, was renamed the Belgica. Gerlache had worked together with the Geographical Society of Brussels, organized a national subscription, but was only possible to outfit his expedition after the Belgian government voted in favor of two large subsidies, making it state-supported undertaking. With a multinational crew, which included Roald Amundsen, they set sail from Antwerp on August 16, 1897. During January 1898, the Belgica reached the coast of Graham, sailing in between the Graham coast and the long string of islands to the west. Gerlache named the passage Belgica Strait. Later it was renamed Gerlache Strait in his honor. After charting and naming several islands during some separate 20 landings, they crossed the Antarctic Circle on February 15th. However, failing to find a way through the Weddell Sea, on 28th of February, the expedition became trapped in the ice of the Bellingshausen Sea near Peter the First Island. Despite efforts of the crew to free the ship, they quickly realized that they would be forced to spend the winter in Antarctica. They were poorly equipped and did not have enough winter clothing for every man on board. There was a shortage of food, and what there was plain and lacked variety. Penguins and seals were killed and the meat stored before the onset of winter. Warm clothing was improvised out of materials available. On March 21, 1898, the expedition's physician, Frederick Cook, wrote, "We are imprisoned in an endless sea of ice. We have told all the tales, real and imaginative, to which we are equal. Time weighs heavily upon us as the darkness slowly advances." Several weeks later, on May 17th, total darkness set in, which lasted until July 23rd. Gerlache disliked the fresh penguin and seal meat that had been killed and stored before the onset of winter, and initially tried to ban their consumption, but eventually encouraged it. Signs of scurvy began to show in a number of the men. Captain Georges Leconte and Gerlache became so ill they wrote their wills. Two of the crew started to show signs of mental illness, and morale in general was extremely poor. Several men lost their sanity, including one Belgian sailor who left the ship announcing he was going back to Belgium. Frederick Cook and the first mate, Roald Amundsen, then took command as Gerlache and Leconte were unable to fulfill this role due to scurvy. Vitamin C was not discovered until the 1920s, but Cook was convinced the fresh meat was the cure for scurvy due to his experiences with Robert Peary in the Arctic. He retrieved the penguin and seal meat and insisted that each man ate some. Even Gerlache began to eat the meat, and slowly men recovered their health. Several months of hardship followed. Attempts to free the ship and its crew from the ice had failed. By January 1899, Belgica was still trapped in ice about 7 feet thick, and the possibility of another winter in the ice was becoming real. Open water was about half a mile away, and Cook suggested that trenches should be cut to open water to allow the ship to escape the ice. The weakened crew used dynamite and various tools to create the channel. Finally, on February 15th, they managed to slowly start down the channel they had cleared during the weeks before. It took them nearly a month to cover 7 miles, and on March 14th, they cleared the ice. Expedition returned to Antwerp on November 5th, 1899. While the conditions were hard, the expedition still managed to collect a significant amount of data, including a full year of meteorological observations. And an interesting bit of trivia, Johan Koren, the cabin boy and assistant zoologist, brought on board Nansen, the ship's cat. Nansen died on June 22nd, 1898, and was buried in the Antarctic. So it looks like we have a couple questions this episode. Heather and her kids sent me a bunch, so I'll answer a couple each episode for a couple weeks. or for a few weeks because they sent me a whole bunch of questions. Great questions, so we'll get to them. I figured we'd start